morning, good afternoon, wherever you are. Thank you for tuning in and sharing in this now moment with myself and with one another. Welcome to these videos. I'm going to go into some flow. There might be some toning and light language that comes through. I've been writing this morning and most of it's about sovereignty. There is much ado about nothing, yet no thing has power over all things, for all things are one. We bring your awareness to the concept that we must reach outside of ourselves for empowerment. This empowerment is truly a cataclysmic, this is a play on words, catapulting that swings us into our truth. As we find ourselves, this is also play on words. So as I say this, I see that my higher guidance team is playing with the word find. Like I'm hearing find and seek. Seek and you shall find. PHI. The golden rule, the golden ratio, right? For those of us who have learned the capacity for compassion, or better spoken, have felt and expressed compassion as a natural way of being. So this is multiple meanings. People can learn compassion. It is a natural way of being, but there are some who really weren't taught it or were never shown it when they were younger. And so they've had to learn it through perhaps hard knocks, so to speak, and then somebody was nice to them afterwards and they could see the difference between compassion and non-compassion. But also perhaps showing compassion for somebody else who has been in that position of lack of empathy or lack of love, and then all of a sudden we show them compassion and they go, oh, that feels really good. We key in right now on compassion because all of the activity flurry that is going on in your world, so to speak, in your whirlwind, the winds are changing. The winds of change are upon us. The changing tides. The tides are changing. The change is upon us. I'm hearing like bells are ringing. Are you listening? For as we come into our true state of inner compassion, inner wisdom, this is also play on words. So whenever I say play on words, I have a tendency to know either to play with the words and the way they sound or the combination of them, or to look them up, because oftentimes the Latin meaning is completely different than the English interpretation and other deeper meanings or synonyms, synonyms. As we allow ourselves to unfurl, so to speak, as we allow ourselves to express from a place of cohesive, I'm seeing consistency. So there was also this message that I think I posted yesterday, but I'm not sure. It was talking about being consistent. So being in coherence is that, from what I've been learning, is the short wave versus the long wave. Like you're either gonna blow out you're either gonna blow all your steam and run out of like people that are really high and really low. And I will go backwards just for a moment. When I first was learning, and I'm just laughing, the car in front of me is Quasi, and I've been writing about quasars, quasi, and neutrinos. And broadly across their back window is 444. All my sisters will get a kick out of that one. Lots of 1s and 444s for a few of them lately, Megan. Anyways, having said that, so much I could go into in that flow. But it's being consistent, it's not being in that yo-yo. So when I was first awakening, or so to speak, let's not say awakening, because all of us can be awake in a moment and just wake up and pull ourselves out. But then once we get out of the matrix, so to speak, or we recognize that, whoa, there's a whole other world going on behind that world. There are layers and layers and layers and layers, sometimes, not always, that we still have to work through or disentangle from, so to speak, or that we can learn and understand from. So we could look at it from all angles. But it really is that concept of disentangling from those layers and recognizing that it's consistency, not being nice to somebody one day and being mean to them the next. And I'm just using that as an example. You guys get what I'm saying. But it's also not burning the wick at both ends. So compassion for ourselves and what's going on out in the world, rather than being disgusted with it 1 minute and then sad and then, all the scales on the emotions, the more neutral, right, that we can be, the better our there's a lot of words that come to mind, but the more neutral that we can be and the more stabilized that we can be, the more stability and coherence and cohesiveness we're then able to assist others with, right? Or essentially, and stabilize in our networks too. Stabilize in the network of star sisters and brothers. Stabilize in the network of the grid system, with Mother Earth, with everything. And as we come into this flow, as we allow ourselves to, I'm seeing be like seaweed. I've talked about this before, ebb and flow with the currents. We do not fight the currents, which keeps us out of a scrambled matrix that wishes to, and this is said from non-judgment, like, oh, they're trying to get us. There is an old system, and this old system, from a very neutral perspective, wants to stay alive, even though the old system is focused on the opposite of life, because that's what the old system was built around. That old system is falling apart, and so it's requesting, asking for us to align more or fully get sucked back into that system. It's like, come back, we need you. Because a lot of us are waking up and realizing we don't need that system. We do not need somebody dictating to us what we need to do, think, how we need to act, how we need to behave, what pills we need to take, what are they called when you get a shot? I had a whole flow this morning about that. So it's sovereignty. It's stating, I am the master of my ship. As we do this, we not only empower ourselves, we create from a space of empowerment. As we create from this space, it sends out waves among the masses that then assist in clearing ancient dreamline cords, in clearing ancient ancestral trauma, and assists in clearing all that and more. The impact that we have within our field of resonance, harmony, coherence, resonates through the bandwidths in such a way that it strikes a chord in the hearts of all that we touch, so to speak. This isn't literal. This is energetic. It can also be through the form of touch as well, which can also be very empowering. As we allow these freedom chords to play through, I'm seeing like a harp, and I'm seeing a man-made harp, and I'm seeing literally the chords of the heart that are source connected. As I see this, as I say those freedom chords, I literally see the Liberty Bell on this truck, Liberty and a bell. So when we ring those chords, when we ring the bell, think of the chalice, right? Think of all of this, all of these old stories all hold a certain trigger, all right? And what all of that isn't relevant right now, although it's fun to talk about. What's relevant is coherence. So you guys, I always bring up heart math. So breathe in for 5 counts, breathe out for 5 counts. If you're dealing with a family member or friend who is in a deep state of fear, offering support, non-judgment, compassion, and not taking it on ourselves. We are so centered that this fear does not rock our composure. It does not crack our foundation. For the cracks in the foundational, ancestral lineages, oh, I'm seeing this as a reference to like our bones. And so we hold the truth within us and good things from our ancestors, but we also hold certain habitual patterns or codes from our ancestors as well. So we're essentially cracking those codes and we're regrouping them and reorganizing them so they're more cohesive and coherent. And we're not carrying this karmic overload or superimposition over and over again. That blueprint has left the building is what I'm hearing. Like, we're not building from that blueprint anymore. So if we're not building from that blueprint anymore, why are we operating from a lower consistency? So again, it's consistency. What are we feeding into consistently? What are we supporting? And so for me, for example, I turned off, my husband and I, he had the news on, and I said, and he agreed, we were in this conversation about it, like, I don't even want to turn the news on right now, or ever really, but because I don't want that to feed their ratings. And that's a very linear 3D way of thinking of it, but I don't. I also understand that there is an energy exchange going on of emotions, 404 wave. And I choose not to perpetuate that exchange, so to speak. And again, I talked about this in my video on Sunday. So if you want to watch that, you're more than welcome to. But I'm going to just kind of come back into flow and end on that note. For as we wash away all that we have harbored, all of the fears, all of the judgments, all of the blame, we start to recognize that these particular architectural systems would never have been allowed. And I'm seeing somebody speaking the words spoken aloud. It would never have been created were it not for a certain expectation of domination or dominance. Setting up dominion, domino effect, dominion of control, and I'm hearing anarchy, but it's like an anarchical, hierarchical reign. This too has fallen. Last night I was hearing Ding Dong, the Witch is Dead. I'm not sure which witch is dead, but ding dong, the witch is dead. So, and I'm saying that with love. I'm not like excited that anybody died, although we all know that death is moving into a different energy. But essentially the old systems are done. It's just this chaotic echo of the past. So let us not feed this echo. Let us not feed this transition more confusion than it has already processed, experienced. I'm seeing us being the equalizers in the speakers, when you have a speaker. So we're controlling the volume, and we're controlling what we're turning up, what we're tuning into, how we're equalizing it. And if we're a yo-yo, we're getting sucked into it. We're not controlling it, so to speak. So as we harness the energy that is behind this chaos theory, so to speak. So it's like the sound behind the sound. It's like a lot of white noise, and then there's we call them maybe the controllers, right? And I'm going a little 3D here for a moment, or into the Matrix, if you've ever seen the movie The Matrix. But what's behind all of that? Like, that's the juice. That's what's within us. Yes, we have our ancestral lineages. Yes, we have some refer to it as baggage. I refer to it as learning pieces and chords of opportunity to then experience certain emotions and frequencies that can then be integrated and used for the compost, so to speak, of our garden, right? But essentially, what's behind all of that? There's a deeper well that is in us as us. And when we break through all of that, I'm hearing like composite. So I'm being shown like a sketch, like a composite sketch. And it's like, sure, there's the pencil and there's the paper and then there's the picture. But what's behind the picture? Who's the artist, right? We are. So rather than giving our power away and getting sucked into everything that's going on, come back to here, come back to source, be the equalizers. And I'm not referring to the movies of vindication and justice and judgment and all of that. That's an old way of being. It's not about necessarily being righteous in that sense. It's a sense of holding space and smoothing out the lines, smoothing out the lineages, clearing up that wheel that people are stuck on. And I see people gently picking up the little hamsters and setting them down, and the hamster's going, what happened? Where am I? What was that? I can't stop. I have to keep going. And we're like, no, you can relax. It's okay. So in love and light, guys, namaste.